Hello, good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I guess it's 1 o'clock. Oh my gosh, my morning has flown by so quickly. I am super excited to bring Nicole in. Nicole and I met, oh my gosh, way before COVID at a conference and hit it off, and we stayed in contact, and we actually organized this talk like ages ago. So I have been eagerly anticipating this conversation with Nicole. I'm gonna bring this up. So I asked Nicole to write me a little bit of a bio and a one-liner for her business, and this is what she's given me. What is the point of running your own business if it costs you your sanity? How perfect is that? Let me bring you in here, Nicole. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thank you.
Good. I love that. I didn't actually go through your bio. Let me, this though is so spot on. How many times are you working with someone and they're just, that hustle, right? That grind, it's not even 9 to 5. It's like 24/7.
Yeah. No, it's my philosophy. It's everything that I base my work around and why I do what I do, because it's so much easier to just be an employee.
Totally. People come to me and I'm kind of like, they're like, well, should I just go and start my own thing? I'm like, have you tried being a contractor first?
Yeah.
All right. Let me introduce you guys. Sorry. So you've given me this, your official, and I've crunched it in there together, but you're working with dentists now and healthcare practice owners. You're a coach basically. But you focus on automation, improving their practice. But you're a numbers girl, just like me too, aren't you?
Yes. At the heart of it all.
Tell us. I love it. Tell us a little bit about why you do what you do.
Well, it was all built from that. You know, what is the point of being in business if it's going to cost you your family, your life, your mental health, your well-being, everything? Yeah. And, you know, most often it doesn't actually have to be like that. You know, if you get the foundations right, you get your systems in place, you get your business model set properly, and, you know, think about business from a business owner's perspective as opposed to an employee's perspective, that you can actually create an amazing life for yourself. You can have an amazing business that gives you time, freedom, money. But more often than not, we don't do that. And it ends up being really stressful, time consuming. You know, it can, at the worst, it can cost you, you know, your family. And I've seen that. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I just wanted to combine all of my skills into something where I could help businesses either avoid that or pull themselves out of it. Yeah. Because I think being in business is one of the most liberating things that you can do. It gives you power, it gives you freedom, but to get to that point, you kind of got to go through a bit of yucky stuff. But
that's why we're here, huh?
Yeah.
You and me.
So, but that's why I do what I do. I just want to help people enjoy their businesses and have a really great life and sense of well-being.
I love it. I love it. Coming from a very values standpoint. I absolutely love that. Now, we always ask all of our guests to answer a few key questions here. These are like the most important questions. I know people are coming because they want to understand fee sitting, but for me, these are the most important. So tell us, Nicole, are you reading or listening to any books at the moment?
Oh, yes. I'm always reading and listening to podcasts. So podcasts are generally about medieval history.
I saw you said you I love that. We'll take this backstage. I want to hear more about that.
Love it. Reading, nothing right at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Now tell me, if you were to fall safely from a cliff, would you want to fall with your face to the ground or your back to the ground?
Oh, I think face down.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Have you ever been skydiving?
No.
Any desire?
I think I would, but I think as a mum, I just don't think I could do it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I do hear that quite a bit. It's like before kids, maybe, but that self-preservation comes in a bit stronger when you've got to take care of some little ones, huh?
Yeah.
Tell us, when was the last time you pushed your comfort zone?
Oh, all the time in business, especially as an introvert, you've got to really push yourself to get out there, and I'm always outside of my comfort zone that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for pushing your comfort zones today and coming on here. And most importantly, cat or dog person?
Oh, dog.
Yay! My favorite answers. Now, Nicole, tell us a little bit. We're coming today talking about setting fees and when do we know and when to raise fees. And this is probably a pivotal point in businesses. This is a make or break it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I love pricing. I think pricing is one of the most interesting elements to the business model, because pricing can be a really practical thing, but it can also be a strategic thing. So pricing can be simply, I'm covering my costs and making a profit, but it can also be, it can tell the community and your industry where you fit and what you stand for. And so I think pricing's got to be looked at from both angles.
I love that.
So even if you're covering your costs and making a profit, if you don't have your pricing positioned properly, it can, you could be missing opportunities because people are just perceiving you wrongly.
Can you tell us, do you have any examples, this is a little bit off script, but do you have examples of when not having those two meet and come together is really harmful or detrimental to the business?
Well, I suppose it could be, perhaps you're worried about charging a lot of money, and so you set your prices quite low, and then you're not necessarily meeting your overheads, and you're not making enough money to really make it worth waking up every morning and going into the practice.
Yeah.
And then perhaps on the flip side, you're making a lot of money, but perhaps you're a little bit excited and you might price your services a little bit too high, and then, people might turn away from that.
Yeah.
But I think if you're incredibly good at what you do and you really make a difference and you're setting your prices too low, you may also be missing opportunities, because a lot of people think price equals value. Well, they think I will get in return for that price, you know what I mean? So if it's too low, they'll be like, well, maybe they're not very good. There's a whole lot of psychology that goes into pricing. So, so I think as a business owner, we've really got to spend a lot of time just tweaking it, testing it, and making sure we've got it right for both the practical side and the strategic side.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's get into a little bit of that then. So how would you go about sort of setting your fees, and what are some considerations when setting them?
Well, I think you've got to look at your overheads, so your cost of doing business, all the expenses that are incurred in delivering your service and finally getting paid for it. But then I think also I'm a big advocate for building businesses around you and about building a business that makes you happy, not necessarily the biggest and the best. Yeah. Maybe the best, but not the biggest. So it's about really getting honest with yourself about, okay, what is going to make me happy? What do I need to feed my family? But also, what do I need to get paid to make it worth doing this business? What is going to be worth getting me out of bed every morning and going through the grind of business to make it all worthwhile? That's going to be different for everybody. So it's grabbing that figure, and then I reverse engineer it. I go, okay, so what do you need to take home? Let's work backwards. Let's look at your expenses, and then we start looking at the fees.
What are some common mistakes? I don't think I've asked this in here. What are some common mistakes that you're finding when working with your clients or other clients in terms of setting their fees?
I think a lot of business owners underestimate their costs. Yeah. They underestimate what it takes to get a business running profitably, and combining that with a lot of emotional stuff that goes into setting fees, to just not making as much money as they could, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. And so tell me then, why and when should people raise their fees? Like, what kind of goes into knowing, like, I guess, is there a formula to, like, say we're going to raise our fees, or setting exact fees? Let's start there. Is there a formula that people should use specifically?
I don't think so. I think it's more, I think, again, you go back to those two parts to it. So there's the first one, which is you've done a review of your numbers, you've crunched the profit, you know how much you're making, and you realize I'm not making enough, so maybe we need to look at raising prices. The cost of doing business always goes up every year, except for this year because we've had deflation. But so it's very common to put up your fees once a year to meet those general increases. But then there's, when you start to look at your strategy and your positioning and where do I want to sit, how do I want to be perceived, and then you might consider looking at your prices then, I think.
Yeah. So when someone's raising, let's say someone raises their fees every year, is there an amount that you consider too much or too little, or is there a process that they should go through to reevaluate in order to know how much to raise their fees?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we could get quite philosophical on this. I mean, I think you've really got to understand your clients and how flexible they are on price. What are they willing to pay? What is the market? How far can you stretch your market, I suppose? Because every client will have a different, will react differently to your pricing. And so it's about understanding who your clients are. What are they prepared to pay? Do they value your services, or are they just coming in and just trying to get the cheapest deal? So you can't throw huge price increases at people. So I guess, I would be conservative in, $10, $20, $30 a year difference. Everybody's different.
Yeah, yeah. And so I guess in terms of, and I kind of get this question a lot, and I know this wasn't something we spoke about in answering, but, sometimes clients are just saying, okay, I want to set my fees. I want to raise my fees, on, whatever day. So let's say they're going to raise their fees July 1st. I find a lot of people love that new financial year kind of fee setting, raising kind of benchmark. And they're never quite sure how to tell their existing clients, or even to include their existing clients. What do you do in terms of raising your fees with your existing clients?
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary because we don't want to talk about money. We don't want to be assertive when it comes to this. There's like all this emotional baggage that goes with it. But the clients that really value what you do and where you make a real difference in their life will just be like, yep, no worries, no biggie. It'll be the clients that never valued your work in the first place. It'll be like, what? Well, I'm going somewhere else.
I do see that. Yeah, that's so true. That's true.
So you just go, I don't know, over the next couple of months, we're going to be looking at raising our fees because, the cost of business is going up, and we want to be able to continue providing care for you and working with you. So just giving you a few months in advance notice.
Yeah. So you do encourage them to raise their existing client fees, with their new client fees.
Yeah. I mean, we have to value what we do, and every business raises their fees.
Yeah,
it's just a fact of life.
Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. Melanie,
I was just going to say, I guess it depends if you've got agreements already in place.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to, you wouldn't probably be able to change those, but
Yeah. Is it better, Melanie's asking us here, is it better to raise fees annually by a larger amount or twice a year by smaller amounts? That's a good question. Glad that's for you.
Well, I think coming from a perspective of a consumer, I would maybe get a little annoyed that somebody was constantly raising their prices, whereas maybe just a one-off, which is fairly standard, might be swallowed a little bit more easily.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good idea too, to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, huh? Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
can you so I'm just looking for my next question here. Sorry about that. So, are there any considerations we need to take into account when the practice has contractors or fee splitting versus employees? And let me just kind of clarify what I mean on that. If you're in a practice that has, well, firstly, it's around setting fees, right? So we want to be able to say, all right, well, if we're setting a fee, do we need to think about setting the fee differently if we have employees versus if we have contractors? And then maybe the second bit of that is, in that, if we have contractors, do the contractors automatically get a fee increase in their percentage fee split if the practice itself is raising its fees?
Yeah. Well, I guess, again, every practice is going to be different, but I think it's really thinking it out and identifying any of those hidden costs that we might not think about straight away. So, if you have employees, it's their workers' compensation, it's the leave that they take, because, we have to pay employees 52 weeks a year, but they'll often take 4 weeks leave, which you don't earn revenue on, so that's a cost. And then contractors, I guess it's whatever you've got in your agreement and just making sure you've captured all of it.
Yeah.
And then, and then the second part of the question, if you increase your fees and your contractors are on a percentage, do they benefit from that? Well, I think it comes back to the original contract and agreement that you've decided with them.
Yeah.
And maybe when going into creating these contracts and agreements, just sort of thinking about, well, down the track, if I raise my prices, do I want the contractor to benefit from that?
Yeah. I love that. What is some, from your experience, because I'm assuming you'd see a lot of people forgetting about expenses. What are some of your experience around, you mentioned hidden cost with employees. What are some hidden costs that we might be forgetting about, or just some costs that we actually just forget about when running a business?
Oh, super.
Yes.
Somebody goes, well, I've got an employee on $60,000 a year. They don't even think about the super component. They often don't think about the workers' comp and insurance components and that paid leave. Yes, it's normally those expenses that happen once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the insurance, or the subscriptions. We tend to go and try software, and we'll have this, before we know it, we're paying out hundreds and hundreds of dollars in subscription fees. And some of those subscriptions are not paid monthly, so you'll get a nice little direct debit once a year. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was still paying that. And then they catch you out because you can't cancel it, because when you cancel it, oh, well, we'll cancel you in 12 months.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, that's actually just too funny. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were doing like a strategy planning session, and that was exactly what happened. She was like, I didn't realize, I thought I'd canceled it, didn't realize, went and canceled, and then I still have access to it for 12 months. So I'm like, here, go ahead and use this as much as possible, because we've got it for 12 more months.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. And so, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I actually really like the concept of the cost of doing business. Yeah. Because what it does do is it says there's a cost to you making money. And when there's a cost, you immediately want to reduce that cost. Mm-hmm. But a lot of business owners will just refer to it as overheads or, like that. It's kind of like, well, that's just a business necessary. And it's just kind of like, well, I've just got to pay for that. But I think when you rephrase it, it's like, it's a cost. I really want to minimize that as much as possible.
That's it. Yeah. Like kind of looking, you mentioned earlier about looking at all of your expenses. I'm assuming you would see a large number of expenses that people think they need that they don't need, like you're kind of looking at this and saying, like zero is a good example where you can get multiple levels of zero. and oftentimes people are paying for zero, and they come to me and they're like, I'm paying $65, $70. And I'm like, why? It's you. You're working 2 days a week.
Yeah, I really think these days it's the subscriptions. That's where it really starts to creep.
Yeah.
So we almost need to start implementing a process where we're reviewing our subscriptions regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a, I don't know if you've got an iPhone or not, but there's a new setting on the iPhone that allows you to see all of your subscriptions that you have subscribed to through like the Apple Store or whatever. And I was doing this exercise saying, what are your subscriptions? And one of my clients, she had been paying for like, I don't know, a fitness app for years. And she's like, I didn't realize I was even paying for that.
Yeah. That's really bad for that.
Yeah. Do you know what they've done in the States, Nicole? You're not allowed, they don't auto renew. So Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they've stopped allowing auto renews on subscriptions. And so I think that's one, annoying, but B, probably a really good idea.
Yeah. Because I think it's starting to verge on it's unethical behavior now.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got kids and you've accidentally found yourself subscribing to something for them, and then it just rolls on year after year.
Yeah. I sensed a little bit of knowing from experience.
The difficulty of getting out of it as well. My son had subscribed to something and it took me weeks to figure out how I had to cancel it.
Oh my gosh. That's never good. Or you signed up for the $1 thing, the $1 trial, and then all of a sudden you're being charged like $1,000 or something.
Yeah.
So, in terms of understanding fees and things like that, is there a time that we should hire someone to help us pick our fees or raise the fees? Or should we bring someone in to kind of go through this? Or, what's your experience in how, picking and choosing fees for people?
Yeah, well, I think very early on you want to at least get some advice from your accountant or bookkeeper on what your expenses are. Are you going to be able to cover those? And what kind of profit would you like to make? Now, in the early days, it can be a little bit hard because you may not have the client base built up, and things change. But really getting your understanding of the numbers early on is really important. And then the other side to pricing, the strategy side, is then talking to, say a business coach like yourself about the, the branding and the positioning element of pricing. And regardless of what your costs are, what should I really be setting my price at for what I do and where I sit in the market, what part of Australia I live in.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I was just thinking as you were saying that, some of the hidden costs are actually the administration time that people put into, working with their clients, and then they take extra work home, and they're not factoring all of that time into it, right? I mean, you're like writing notes or writing the reports, and you haven't really thought about that. And so the strategy part of that is like having a conversation with someone like you or me who can understand those things, is that you can ask those from like a third party, us, saying, well, what about this, or what about that, or have you thought about this, and just really kind of invigorating that thought around everything it actually encompasses. Yeah,
that's totally right. Because there is a lot of work done behind the scenes, from your administration to your clinicians doing outside of the actual time they spend doing emails or follow-ups or sending reference materials or whatever. So you really want to capture all of that to ensure that you're as profitable as possible.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it has to be worth your while doing this. And if you're only making you're only skimming a little bit off the top, you really have to question, is it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me, what are three things that kind of people can kind of take away or do to evaluate their fees or evaluate setting their fees? What are 3 things you kind of suggest?
Well, the first thing I think is definitely getting your books in order and getting a good understanding of your expenses. So a lot of times in business owners don't have this in order because maybe things are being paid out of a personal bank account, or you've got some things you paid for with cash that slip through, and if you don't have any accounting software in place, your kind of records are all over the place. So it's really getting that organised so that you know exactly what is going out, what you're paying for. So if you don't have it already, getting some accounting software set up, just really basic stuff. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it. But as long as you can capture all of your expenses, including tea and coffee for the kitchen, your subscriptions, telephone, mobile, everything, just so you can get crystal clear on where you stand, so you can feel in control and ready to know what you need to do. What else? So getting clear on what you want to take from a business. So having a really deep think about, what do I want to provide for my family? What do I want to take home to say, yep, I'm this is my version of success, and this is worth me getting up every day and grinding it out. And dealing with employee issues, dealing with whatever you need to deal with on a daily basis to run your business. It's worth my while. And then reverse engineering. Maybe I need to tweak my costs. I need to tweak my pricing. I need to make some changes somewhere.
Nicole, can I ask you, let's say they go and they do this. They've reverse engineered and they realize that they're charging too little, right? And they need to charge a lot more for what they're doing. So they go ahead and maybe they increase their fees or whatever. But then they are one of two things. They're the highest in their community. And so they're starting to freak out a little bit because now they're like, oh, I'm the most expensive. Or B, they find that they've stopped being able to book in the clients. Like we mentioned earlier, that can the client afford it? So if they stop being able to convert their inquiries to bookings, what would your suggestion be to them?
I think it's really part of a much broader business strategy, and it's sitting down with somebody like yourself to really nut out the whole model, because pricing is only one element of it and your costs are only one element of it. And if you're finding that your price is so high that it's pushing you out of the market, then we've got to look at some other aspects of your model to make it, a really great business. And so that can't all just be done through pricing. It's part of a much bigger conversation.
What are some of the things that you talk to your clients about with strategy?
Well, there's a few elements to it. So there's, it's sometimes we try and be everything to everybody, and we try and because when we open the doors to our own business, we're like, oh, I'm really nervous. I want this to be successful. Oh, you'll come and you come in and you come in too. And okay, I've got this little business and everything's going fine. But then you end up with this monster. There's no strategy around it. And you're just pulling your hair out and you got pricing all over the place. So it's just about taking a step back, working with a coach and getting crystal clear on where you want to go with your business.
That's it.
And then not every client's the same. So you can create a business around a particular segment of client, and you could break that down all different ways. But it's about working with people that will pay you for your work, that value what you do.
Absolutely.
And so when we raise our prices, we're really fearful of people walking away. Well, those people are probably not meant to work with you in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. I say that exact same thing to clients. I love my clients. I love hearing that from you because, they're like, I need a bum on a seat. I'm freaking out. I need to be able to pay my bills. I need to be able to do this. And that's where strategy comes in, right? Like if you know where your business is going, you know how to take it, and you know, yeah, absolutely. And you're not afraid to say, sorry, you're not a good fit.
Yeah. When you get crystal clear on where you're going, then everything makes sense, and you can comfortably say no to somebody, and you can comfortably say yes to the right people.
Yeah, that's right. You're making room for the right people, huh?
Exactly.
We totally agree on this.
And that's when pricing can be more of a strategy, because you can lift it a little if it's being targeted at the people that value what you do.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. Tell us, if they're only going to do one thing today, just one thing, and this is the only thing they're going to take away, what would that key takeaway be?
Get their books in order.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this looks like? I wrote this down here. I literally probably 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before I sent you the invite for coming on to StreamYard to come backstage, I was perusing through Facebook, as you do, and there's a group that I'm a member of. It's a diary management system group, and somebody posted in there, do I get zero or something like that for my business? They work, I think, a total of maybe 8 to 10 hours a fortnight in practice. And they said, so it's just, are you a part of these groups? So you see all these comments coming through?
Yeah, possibly.
So the comments that were coming, I was like, okay, I just want to see what other people are telling each other. So this is clinicians telling other clinicians stuff. Okay. And so the clinicians posting this reply about, should I get zero? Basically, one clinician saying, should I get zero? And all of these other clinicians saying, I just used an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like thinking, I'm like, firstly, there are definitely things like MyOb and Xero, but most diary management systems or practice management systems have the ability to enter your expenses, as well as having the ability to invoice and everything like that. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, but how do you get your books in order? Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Is it using your diary management system? Quantify that for us. What does getting your books in order look like?
Okay, well, I'm a Xero partner. I love Xero. I think Xero is the answer to everyone's problems.
Okay.
Right. So getting your books in order is about capturing all of your business financial information in one spot where it's clean and accurate and up to date.
Yeah.
The benefit of using something like Xero is that you can set up your bank feeds.
Yeah.
Now, when I work with clients, I help them work out their office systems, and we go, okay, so if you want to make this as easy as possible, do these sort of things like only have one bank account, run all of your business expenses through one bank account, don't use cash.
Yeah.
Get Xero set up, have your bank feeds automated as much as possible with the rules. Get a bookkeeper or an accountant who knows what they're doing to get that set up for you.
Yeah.
And then let that just do its thing. And then your books will always be up to date. If you're disciplined in how you manage your receipts and where you're paying for your expenses, then the bookkeeping is really it's just taken care of.
Yeah.
There's not much that needs to be done because bank feeds and Xero take care of it all.
Yeah. So getting your books in order isn't just allowing everything that comes and goes out of the bank feed. Like, it's not just what's at the end of the day, what's on the bank statement. Because I hear that a lot as well. Like, I'm using my bank, I see how much money is in my bank account. Why do you mean I need to add something like Xero? So it's bigger than that.
Yeah, no, it's capturing everything and making sure that everything business related is going through that bank account, including your tea and coffee. So, I really, really recommend people minimize cash as much as possible. Yeah. Just get a debit card and go and buy for those things on that, because then you don't even have to really worry about it again. You don't really have to process it because we can set up Xero. So a lot of that's automated. Yeah. As soon as we see you've bought something from a certain shop, we'll set up a rule. So it's just going to automate.
Yeah.
So it's super easy.
Yeah.
and it just gives you a lot more control. And so when you do have these conversations, say with yourself about how do I set my prices, well, your books are there, your expenses are there, everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you're really in control.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's also really good. We just did a Facebook Live a little bit earlier with a member, and I was asking her what was the first best thing that you brought on board in terms of support, and she said her administration team. And I love that, because like having the ability to hand over a lot of the administration things is really important. But I actually think if you have to choose sort of between your admin team and a bookkeeper and accountant, I would almost encourage people to do bookkeeper accountant, because that's your best. I see people struggling every quarter to like enter all the line items, or what is it, categorize or something? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, so assigning it to an expense category.
Yeah.
If you get a really good bookkeeper who really knows Xero inside and out, they can get it set up so that 90% of your bookkeeping is actually automated.
Yeah.
We're really at a point in time with the software where if you're disciplined and able to streamline how you do things, run your business, then we can set up your bookkeeping so that it's pretty much done every week.
Yeah, it's the best. It's sort of like one of the best things that you kind of don't have to think about, but is such a huge important component of a business, isn't it?
Yeah. And then just having that expert run their eye over it to make sure it's correct and make sure your GST's been allocated properly, and then it's just one less thing you've got to worry about.
Yeah. Now, Nicole, you do business coaching with others. So you work with the allied health space as well, really looking at helping them set up their strategy and looking at their bank accounts and their bookkeeping and things like that. So this is the website that people can get a hold of you. And I've dropped in your email here. And throughout the show, I kind of popped up your Facebook group so your Facebook page and your LinkedIn page and everything like that. Is there anything that you kind of want to say now? Like if somebody is inquiring about your services and are thinking that they want to reach out and ask you some more questions, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Probably just reach out via email.
Okay.
Just shoot me an email. In terms of helping, get your books in order.
Yeah, well, I love the strategy component, because we were talking backstage as well, and you were saying that there's a lot of let's chat about. I mean, we've got some time here, a little bit of time, but let's talk about this. We were chatting backstage a little bit, talking about the fact that sometimes psychologists or mental health clinicians have a barrier about charging a fee, right? And so you were mentioning, and you mentioned this a couple of times throughout this as well, as understanding that values component. So what do you tell your clients, or when you're working with your clients, how do you kind of pull out that value and the guilt and everything like that, and help them reconcile charging a fee for their service? Because I know that there are a lot of clinicians out there that really, really hate talking about money.
I think we all have hang-ups about money and pricing. I mean, myself included. And I think the thing that changed it for me was I was working with a business mentor a few years ago, and he helped me change my perspective and shift from it just being about the actual service that you're providing and the time that you spent on it to the value that you've provided.
Yeah.
And so it removes anything about the price, because sometimes the value that you're providing somebody could last a lifetime. Now, how do you put a price on that?
Yeah.
What if one of your clients is going through a very difficult time, and you're able to pull them out of it, and they go on to have a wonderful, they're completely happy and well, how do you put a price on that? Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at, I think a lot of people in the health space maybe consider that they're taking advantage of people in a vulnerable situation.
Yeah.
What if we shifted it to looking at it, well, look at how you're helping them, look at the value you're providing them, and you're completely changing their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that change how you thought about your pricing?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's such a hang up. I recently raised my fees and haven't changed the service, just raised my fees. And, you know, when I'm getting new inquiries and they're like, oh my goodness, what am I getting for this? And I'm like, you know what, I've been doing this long enough now. I can tell you that you're going to be sending me emails at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm going to be responding to them, even though my out of office says I'm not. You know, like there'll be times where you're struggling with having a conversation with someone or whatever, and you're going to want to bounce that off, you know, it's so much more of a service than just, you know, the time that they get with me allocated per month. That really shifting it. It's empowering, isn't it? When you shift from that hour base to kind of say, here, this is a mutual exchange for time versus this is a mutual exchange for something that's more than that. It's that values base. I love that. I love that idea.
I think I don't know, maybe this is a little controversial, but I feel like we need to put our business hat on and stop. You know, if we're in business, we've got to protect ourselves and make sure we're making enough money to support our families. And we can't be a charity. We can't give our work away for free, even though we desperately probably want to with a lot of people. There's so many people that, you know, don't have, you know, a lot of disposable income. They're probably the people that need us the most often. But we have to, look after ourselves first.
Yeah, definitely. It is talking about wearing the different sort of hats, you know, like, can the business sustain itself on what you've been doing, or does it rely on something or someone? And if it relies on, you know, some practices will set their fees a little bit lower because they know they can step in and kind of boost the bottom line by seeing clients themselves. And it's like, stop, you don't want to be doing that. Why are you setting your business up to do that? How do you look at that, like you mentioned, the strategy, and prop it up so you don't have to do that?
Yeah. So it's just, I think, remembering it's about the value that you're providing. It's not that you're sitting there for 15 minutes giving or listening or talking or whatever. It's about could be fundamentally changing someone's life, and that's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to make sure we mention here before we finish up?
No, I think that was it. It's about I mean, my you know, my philosophies around pricing are that, you know, it's about the value perception, and if you can get that across to your clients, then it'll be a lot easier to charge a higher price, because they understand that it's about the outcome and not about just sitting in your practice for 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's about having different conversations and just knowing that you're worth it.
Yeah.
To try and not be afraid to charge what you're worth.
Yeah.
And that is a struggle, because it is a struggle for all of us.
Yeah.
To work with somebody like yourself who can maybe push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to me. I was working with a mentor a couple of years ago. He's like, right, you got to increase your prices. I'm going to push you, and you're going to go and do this. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. And he's like, no, you have to do this. If you're going to pay me for my advice, you're going to do it. I'm like, all right, I will trust you. I will feel so scared the whole time, but I'll do it.
And no looking back, right? That's awesome.
But sometimes you just need a little bit of help to push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what you and I are here for, huh? I love that. And I love that the final note is kind of that you're worth it, because it's a female dominated profession as well. And so I love the idea of empowering women, human beings, full stop, but especially women that are kind of on the fence and they're not quite sure, or they're just that little timid, that we can just kind of like push them out and help them flourish. So yeah, I definitely love that. Wonderful. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.